Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for candidates for Lake Stevens City Council positions 6 and 7. I'm Karen Madsen, a member of the League, and we thank you for joining us. Let me start with providing some information on this position. The City Council is the legislative body of city government that establishes city policy and provides a framework for city administration to respond to community needs. Council members manage basic public services like sewer, water, fire, police, roads, parks, etc. They establish and enforce local laws affecting individuals and businesses, including local taxes. They control how land can be used, and they provide direction to the mayor. Candidates do not declare a political party preference. Candidates for Lake Stevens City Council position 6 are Tasha Edwards and Steve Ewing. Candidates for Lake Stevens City Council position 7 are Catherine McAllister and Nathan Packard. It is the policy of the League to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or parties. The rules for participation in this forum were sent ahead of time to all candidates, and they have each agreed to follow them. I will pose the questions. I will clearly state the amount of time allowed for each answer. We are using a countdown timer, which is visible to 3 of the 4 candidates, and time limits on answers will be strictly enforced. I'll be giving a verbal cue to the candidate who's unable to see the timer. The order for responses to the first question, this was determined randomly earlier in the day, will be Catherine McAllister, then Nathan Packard, followed by Steve Ewing, and finally Tasha Edwards. I will alternate candidates in the starting position to ensure a fair sequence. And with that, let's begin. Candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to this first question. Ms. McAllister, the question is this: what are your top priorities for this office? Please explain why you're focusing on these priorities. Ms. McAllister, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, my first priority is definitely reconnecting the city government with the citizens of Lake Stevens. There's been a really big disconnect, and we need more avenues for the people to express needs and opinions on upcoming policy and then possible policy. We have the city council meetings, but them and the rare times where input is specifically asked for and there's a place to do so. And then sometimes events with individual, like the mayor has these, the Starbucks meetings and the community events. We need a general way for people to talk to their city government when all the other avenues have been sort of shut down. It seems a lot like they don't want to hear from the people. And I would want to first make sure that people know that the city is listening, and then open up some of the channels specifically to hear about
10 seconds.
What policies are working and not working, and what plans are popular.
Thank you, Mr. Packard.
Yeah, good evening. My top priorities lie around my campaign slogan, which is enhancing Lake Stevens while preserving its roots. I think Lake Stevens is great. I love it. We lived here for 13 years and love it. Is it perfect? No, but I think it's pretty great. And I think a lot of the community loves it as well. That's why they're here, and that's why a lot of them have been here long term. I want to find ways to make incremental improvements to the city to improve quality of life for all residents, but still maintain that unique culture and community that we have. I think people love that it's a lake town. I think people love that it's a smaller town feel. If we want to go to Everett, we can go to Everett. But we don't live in Everett. We live here, and we do that for a reason. And so my goal is to simply provide ways to, again, improve quality of life. That's intended to be done through the 3 R's, are my campaign pillars. That's roads, recreation, and relationships. Roads is really all things related to infrastructure. It could be actual roads themselves. It could be making sure that our utilities and other things are set up, sidewalks, make sure that we do the strategic growth with the proper infrastructure. Recreation, I in particular love the lake, but that's not the only opportunity for recreation. So we need to make sure we have diverse recreation opportunities. And third, relationships. That's relationships between the citizens and the government, citizens and each other, and citizens and the police officers. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Mr. Ewing?
Thank you. So three priorities are public safety. We need to make sure that all citizens feel safe. I'm grateful that my wife and daughter can take a walk in our neighborhood and around the community, and I feel safe with them doing so because we're the 10th safest city in the state of Washington out of 281 cities. I've talked to hundreds of residents and doorbelling nearly 8,000 residences, and public safety is a top response that I get from people about what they like about Lake Stevens. It's a safe community. Economic development, we need to make sure that we have a solid tax base to be able to provide the revenue for us to provide the services for the citizens. A recent success that we had was bringing Costco to the city of Lake Stevens. A lot of that leakage that we had was now being able to retain. We're able to get that tax revenue brought to Lake Stevens. A significant majority of those that shop at our Lake Stevens Costco do not live within the city of Lake Stevens. Lastly, infrastructure. We need to make sure that we have roads and sidewalks and parks so our residents have a place to recreate. Part of the infrastructure add is providing essential services. I believe are essential services like the food bank. After nearly 4 decades, we finally brought a food bank to Lake Stevens. It would be wonderful if we were able to bring a senior center to Lake Stevens that would meet the needs of our aging demographic.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Edwards?
Hi there. So I have three main priorities that I want to put the most attention to up front. First would be transparency, accountability, and integrity. Outdoor belling and talking to citizens. That's probably the number one thing I hear is that citizens in Lake Stevens don't really feel like they're being heard. And so I really want to bring trust to our city leadership. I want to make sure that citizens have information at their fingertips and increase civic engagement within our community. City-sponsored voter registration events, information on how our government works. People don't know those things, and so we need to make sure that people are informed on how things work, not just that they can do it. Number two is responsible and smart economic growth. So obviously, we have had a lot of growth. In my opinion, I feel like we have way too many single-family homes way too quickly. Our infrastructure obviously can't handle it. We need to lead with our infrastructure. When we have our council approving 39 new homes on a 6-acre lot at an intersection with already an F rating, that's a problem. We need to kind of step back and look at the infrastructure before we move forward. And then lastly, community-centered public safety. We need to invest in prevention, keep citizens connected, engage our youth, and look into investing in a crisis response team local to Lake Stevens.
Thank you. Candidates will have 90 seconds for this next question as well. Mr. Packard, you go first on this one. What qualifications and experience make you a good choice to address the priorities you just mentioned?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I would state as qualification is the amount of time and effort that I've put into preparing for this role. So I've been on the member of the Planning Commission for the last nearly 2 years. And so participated on a regular basis in those meetings and understanding the challenges that the city faces, the work that the city staff puts in to preparing and executing the plan for the city. And then giving my input in a strategic manner, communicating, collaborating, engaging with the other Planning Commission members, many of whom that I disagree with on these issues, but we're able to sit down and talk and communicate, share our opinions, and provide a consensus or a majority recommendation that can then move forward to the citizens and to the city council. In addition to that, over the last 18 months to 24 months, I have attended the majority of the city council meetings as a citizen. I am often one of one or two citizens in the room, watching, listening, participating, just to understand again what goes on, what it takes. I read the packets in advance. I come prepared. I make comments where appropriate, and really have just put in the time and energy to really understand what it takes to be on city council and to be a contributing member to help our community.
Mr. Ewing.
Thank you. Prior to joining the Lake Stevens City Council in 2019, I spent 2 years on the Planning Commission where we provided valuable input to the City Council regarding land use and how we manage the Comprehensive Plan and the Growth Management Act and how we can do our best to make the best use of our resources. I have direct input in the successes that we've had in Lake Stevens. I don't know that Lake Stevens has had a better 4-year run than the last 4 years that we've had. Being one of the safest cities in the state is a top success we had. Building the food bank is a top success. We've expanded our recreational opportunities for a wide variety of our residents. We have some underserved parts of the city. The majority of our residents live on the west side of the city, and we've had fewer parks there in the area for our citizens to recreate. And so we've made significant strides there to add recreational opportunities, including adding Bayview Trail, the Caballero Park, the dog park, and refreshing Frontier Heights Park. We've built more sidewalks in recent this last couple of years. We passed the Transportation Betterment Fund. And we've been good stewards of our environment. Our lake water quality is the best it's ever been. We have not had to treat for alum because of our excellent stormwater management processes.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards.
So besides my engagement in the city itself over several different ways in the last decade or longer, my educational background really helps me work in this capacity. My education was focused on social science and political science, so I have a really good, strong understanding of the complex social and economic issues that impact our citizens. I know how the policies impact different people differently depending on their demographics. I have learned how to think critically and how to be intuitive and ask hard questions and expect full and complete responses before I'm satisfied. I also have good professional experience. So currently I work directly with families in the community. I have extensive knowledge of community resources and the demographics that use them. I can communicate effectively all across the aisle. I have the ability to make informed and balanced decisions. And ultimately, I'm really grounded in community voice. I'm in the loop with what citizens on average and community members are experiencing and what's important to them. And I'm able to relate to them as a regular citizen myself.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. McAllister?
Yeah, I have been a member of the community for over 20 years now, and I started in middle school, and I am raising my children in the schools now. And I do agree that we have had an extremely successful last few years. It has been amazing to see the growth that we've had in infrastructure improvements and public use facilities, all of it. As we've really gone up on that stuff, but there's still a lot that the community wants to communicate to city government and have prioritized. And I would like to bring that voice up to government and reconnect government and the citizens. I've worked for state government. I worked for the DSHS for about a decade. I've volunteered in the community extensively since I was a teenager. And I like Lake Stevens, and I like it more and more each year, and I want to help it grow in a way that we can use it so that we have parking at the facilities we go to and kids can walk to
10
school,
seconds.
especially if there are a lack of buses and such.
Thank you. Timer, please note that the candidates will have 60 seconds for these next few questions and adjust the clock accordingly. There we go. Thank you. Mr. Ewing, you get first say on this next question. Given competing and conflicting priorities, what factors will guide your finance and budgeting decisions?
We need to address the most significant responsibilities first. If we do not have a safe community, we will not have people wanting to establish their businesses here. We will not have residents that feel safe going to patronize our parks and our businesses here. We need to look no further than the city of Seattle, where businesses are leaving in droves. Their crime rate is 10 times higher than Lake Stevens, in part because of the policies of the elected officials there. And so we've created a different environment here in Lake Stevens. We focus our public safety. I have yet to hear of anyone saying they want to reimagine or defund or abolish our police. In my communications with folks in the community. So having that safe community, being able to provide the infrastructure that we need. We have limited resources. Thankfully, we passed the Transportation Betterment Fund. The citizens did, which has allowed us to expedite our safe sidewalks, especially in school zones.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards.
So I would prioritize it by the hierarchy of need. You know, what directly impacts the quality of life of our citizens and every day. And like Mr. Ewing said, obviously public safety would be really important. I'd also want to look at sustainability. So we want to make sure that we have a long lasting return on our investment. We don't want to do quick fixes or half jobs so that we have to go back later and redo or refix. And we can avoid unnecessary repairs later. Legal and fiscal responsibility is important. We need to make sure that we are complying with regulations, whether that's environmental or ADA, and we need to not waste our money. So there are several things that we could be doing better that would allow us to use our money more wisely. And then lastly, fairness. No one should be left behind. We need to listen to our citizens and their feedback and actually use it.
Thank you. Ms. McAllister.
Hi. Okay, so first of all, I would put the emphasis on the infrastructure. We don't have enough parking at facilities, and a lot of times no ways for people to get there. The sidewalks are improving, but we still have areas where we need them. Obviously, finishing the major projects for the schools so that the classrooms can have doors and kids can eat fresh food that comes from the school would be great. I would like to reassess how we're spending our legal funds so that we can ensure that we are not costing the citizens more than we're trying to save them.
10 seconds.
And then working to respond to the new environmental mitigation county.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. McAllister. Mr. Packard.
Yeah, so I think there are a number of different ways to look at the budget. The first and foremost, though, I want to communicate that I'm in favor of a balanced budget on an annual basis. Of course, there are times when you might have a surplus or you might have a deficit, but I am very conservative fiscally and want to make sure that the city is using their funds appropriately and sustainably over a period of time, and make sure that we've got the income to balance the expenses and make sure we're doing that correctly. Within that, though, and with that premise, public safety is highest priority. We do want to make sure that we have a safe community, and that safety needs to extend to all members of our community and all demographics and all areas of the community. I think that's really important. And then again, the question is, what does the community want and what do they need? So it's up to us to ask them on a regular basis what they're looking for and what they need, and make sure that we're providing those resources. Sometimes tough decisions are going to have to be made, but that's part of our job on City Council, and we should do what's best for the community.
Ms. Edwards, you have first say on this next question. What changes, if any, would you like to see in how the city of Lake Stevens is run?
I have a few suggestions. I definitely would want to see some more action behind the input asks that we have for our citizens. So when we have polls, we need to actually use the responses to base our decisions, and not just have it be a formality or a symbolic gesture asking for input from citizens. For example, the poll on sidewalks versus multi-use pathways. Sidewalks overwhelmingly came in a lot higher than multi-use pathways, but yet we still have multi-use pathways being prioritized. We have an issue with putting information at people's fingertips. It should not take the CIA to find information on our Lake Stevens website. Seniors need to know about the tax breaks that they can get on their home taxes. Low income families need to know about the rental protections. We just really need to put more attention into information dissemination.
Thank you. Ms. McAllister?
I also agree with the information dissemination and taking the input into account when policy is being fashioned and when those decisions are made. I'd also like to see more general input coming in and heeding that and inviting the public, even not just opening avenues, but inviting the public to bring their needs forward and making that a priority rather than something done because the state requires you to do so before making certain kinds of policy. I'd also like to
10
have
seconds.
have more communication before private sessions so that citizens know vaguely what it's about.
Thank you. Mr. Packard?
Yeah, my primary concerns are very similar. It's open and honest and transparent communication. As I've gone around talking to people and as I see people online, one of their biggest issues and concerns is around the honesty and transparency and communication. If I am elected to city council, I would make a promise to be available and to have those hard conversations. It's clear that we're not always going to agree. That's fine. But can we give people the space to share their thoughts? To share where they're coming from and why they have those thoughts and their experiences that lead them to those conclusions. And then while we may disagree, just make the agreement that we'll be respectful and move forward with trust and with respect and congeniality and human decency.
And Mr. Ewing? Mr. Ewing, you're muted. Mr. Ewing, your microphone is muted.
I agree wholeheartedly with what Tasha said about not needing to be CIA or FBI to be able to locate information on the city's website. It should be more easily accessible to the average citizen. I would also recommend that we do a better job prior to doing pilot studies. We missed the mark on the 116th, 117th pilot project. There wasn't enough work that was done there, and the citizens provided overwhelming feedback that that wasn't a good thing, and the data supported the citizens' viewpoint. Our city does an outstanding job. We're recognized throughout the state. There's 281 cities, and we're presenting at Associated Washington Cities events on how to effectively govern cities. We're also presenting at national events at National League of Cities. There's 19,500 cities in the United States, and we are being asked to present how do we effectively run a government. The staff and the majority of the council and the mayor work together to work for the benefit of our citizens.
Thank you. Ms. McAllister, you have the first say on this next question, and that is, what will you do to support a vibrant economy in Lake Stevens?
I really think infrastructure needs to come first. I don't think we're having issues with our economy as far as having enough money to do the things that we want to do. But continuing in that direction will be a lot easier once we get rid of bottlenecks and make sure that we can use all the places that we need to use, and then increasing multifamily housing also. Our main outsource right now seems to be development and our land, and we're just like selling it off
10
to developers
seconds.
to sell. And I would like to see other pathways for income pursued.
Thank you. Mr. Packard.
Yeah, I look at our economy from two different perspectives. One is the income that we can bring in from development, home building, whatever version of homes that is. In order for us to have the development that we need there and to bring in that revenue, we've got to make sure that we have policies and procedures in place that enable that building to happen as efficiently as possible while complying with all the regulations. We impose fees sometimes on the developers. Those all go to the community, and then that can sometimes stifle the ability to buy a home in this community. The business side of thing is important. We do need to attract new businesses, and we have to keep our existing businesses. So while there are ideas to provide incentives to new companies coming in, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that there are many businesses that have been here for a long time, and we need to do what we can to make sure that they have the resources and support they need to continue to thrive in our community and bring economic development.
Mr. Ewing.
Thank you. So we need, as I've said previously, to support public safety, workers and customers need to feel safe, and businesses need to feel that they can operate with reasonable safety to the extent possible. And within the legal limits, we need to limit the regulatory burdens and cut the red tape for our businesses. We need to process the permits and land use applications efficiently. Last year, we were processed the seventh most applications in the state of Washington out of the 281 cities. So we are doing a good job there of helping to support and promote that opportunities so those businesses can be successful. And we also limit the tax burden. I'm opposed to a city B&O tax. Our opportunities for economic development largely lie in the industrial complex and on 20th Street. We need to make sure that we're working with the city of Everett to make sure that we can get that area open for economic development.
And Ms. Edwards.
So when I looked at this question, there were three things that really stood out as far as supporting a vibrant economy. First would be investing in the infrastructure, which we've already talked about a little bit, but realistically, we need to be able to support our current businesses. I personally know a business owner, a newer business owner whose business is exploding and there's no place for him to expand. So, they may end up going to Everett. We need to make sure that we have space for new businesses. We have focused on residential building, and we do have zones for commercial that we could be pushing more utilization for to be able to have more business doors open. We need to invest in our people, work with the school district to provide apprenticeship opportunities for our youth, encourage creative public spaces so people can actually feel like they're doing something, and then fiscal responsibility, invest in things that benefit everyone, not just a few. Be proactive, not reactive.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Packard, you have first say on this next question about affordable housing. What measures, if any, would you propose or support to keep housing options affordable in Lake Stevens?
That's a really good question, and I'm not sure there's an easy answer. I have a daughter who's in college, and when she was home for Christmas this past December, she talked about being able to move back to Lake Stevens and buy a home. And I just said, I'll be honest, I don't know how that's possible, right? Even with my current salary and where I am in my life, I think it would be hard for me to buy into this current economy. And that's a really difficult thing to say to a daughter that you want to have moved back in here. And so part of that supply, part of that is demand. Part of it is what can we do as a city council, again, to attract new homes, a supply and a diversity of homes that enable a broad variety of people to be able to afford and live in our community. Again, as I mentioned in the previous comment or a question response was having the policies and procedures that enable that to happen, reducing fees, reducing complexity, rapid and efficient processing of permits, et cetera, so that people can buy and move into homes as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ewing.
Thank you. We have very limited buildable lands within the city of Lake Stevens for residential or commercial. We really need to, as we petitioned previously, to expand the urban growth area for our city. When we have limited land, that means that the prices are going to go higher, and we're seeing that in Lake Stevens. We need to make sure, as stated previously, to support the streamlining of the permitting process, and support the adoption of accessory dwelling units to allow those, up to 1,000 square feet per lot, and to allow the stormwater mitigation for that to make that a realistic opportunity. Lastly, I would say that the fees that are associated with the cost of a home represent about 25% of the cost of a home, the permits and fees. So when people say, hey, I just want to raise the cost of this permit or fee, that's really getting passed on to prospective person. And my daughter or son would not be able to live in Lake Stevens because of the cost of the homes here.
Ms. Edwards.
I would say strong partnerships with local agencies that specialize in housing affordability is really important. We have some candidates that are endorsed by the Affordable Housing Council, which is basically a master builders pack. And I have been working with the Snohomish County Housing Consortium, which takes all of the affordable housing opportunities in Snohomish County and puts them in one place. And right now we do not have Lake Stevens represented in that consortium. And so that would definitely be one thing that I would pursue. We need incentives for private homeowners to rent to low income Section 8 recipients. There is benefits out there that where landlords can get relief for damages that they don't know about. We can explore rezoning, offer builder incentives for affordable housing by reducing those fees and permit prices.
Thank you. And Ms. McAllister.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of our elementary schools this year were able to get free lunch for the entire school because they qualified with the state for having over, I think it was 30% below the poverty line of students that would qualify for free lunch. And you don't see that same diversity in housing at all. There is not affordable housing hardly anywhere in Lake Stevens. And everywhere there's also HOAs, which add to the cost, and the tax burden is out of control. So even if interest rates go down and everything, it's too much to buy a house with all the extra to it. I think we need to rebalance how like HOAs
10 seconds.
are prioritized over community needs and figure that out.
Thank you. Mr. Ewing, we're going to move on to collaboration on the council for this next question. And you're first. What is a strategy which could be used to enhance collaboration in your work on the Lake Stevens City Council? And give an example of how you've used this strategy.
Well, we work very well together, as I mentioned previously, to collaborate with the city of Lake Stevens, and working together with the council. The majority of the council and the mayor and the city staff work collaboratively together. At least once a year, we have a meeting with the Parks and Recreation Board. They provide their lay group of folks in our community. We have really outstanding volunteers in our community. And the Parks Board has been instrumental in identifying priorities in our community for us to do that. So we're working collaboratively with those folks there. The Planning Commission is also another commission that we work with that provides invaluable input. I've appreciated both on the Planning Commissioner side and also as a council member receiving the input from these really outstanding, extraordinary citizens who give so much of their time to help us with the heavy lift that we have in the community.
Ms. Edwards.
Yeah, so partnering again with local organizations is really important. I like to use what's called the 3 C's. Lead by example by using communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and conflict resolution. So in my day job, I actually teach youth how to do that. And so here in the college that I work at, we work in groups. I do activities with my class to teach them, the difference between positive conflict resolution and negative conflict resolution. So being able to exhibit those attributes would be really helpful in collaborating with our government. And I think just being able to connect with other community leaders, whether it's church leaders or, the police department, the Kiwanis Club, and so forth, is really, really important.
Ms. McAllister. Ms. McAllister, your microphone is muted.
I agree with connecting to local community leaders and setting up forums to bring city government and people together, especially when when we have big policy decisions coming up. We need more than just polling and comment boards, and we need discussion and open Q&A sessions, and find out what our needs are so that we can address them and hear from all corners of the city and all people we're
10
representing.
seconds.
That's all.
Thank you. And Mr. Packard.
Yeah, I think the number one framework for effective collaboration is being able to have open and honest communication, and being able to be vulnerable and ask curious questions. So 2 examples. One, my time on the Planning Commission. Again, I've been on the Planning Commission for 2 years. That Planning Commission is made up of lawyers, business owners, teachers, engineers, et cetera, right? We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different opinions. We all look at the problem differently, but as long as we're able to be honest and open with each other and understand that each person is bringing their best effort to the table, that they have good intentions, I think that's really important. And again, we may not always agree, but we can respect each other and we can move forward. The same thing happens in my career. I work at Boeing as an engineer. Often there are very difficult technical engineering problems. We don't always have the same approach, but as we can be open and honest and communicate and share effectively, we can come to good solutions.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards, you have the opportunity to tell us first, what additional issues or information would you like to bring to the attention of voters?
Yeah, so a huge issue that a lot of people are aware of, and I've heard a lot about, is possible conflicts of interest, and who is funding our current elected leaders here in Lake Stevens. So I really would like to bring attention to what's called the PDC, or the Public Disclosure Commission. Citizens can go to the PDC to look up campaign contributions and see who is supporting the candidates running. So watch out for things like misleading names. Like I mentioned earlier, the Affordable Housing Council is a code word for a builder's pack. So they don't necessarily advocate for affordable housing. They want to be able to afford to build cheaper houses. So pay attention to our local political candidates and get involved. It's really important to be involved and have your voice heard.
Ms. McAllister, additional issues? Ms. McAllister, your microphone is muted.
I'm sorry. Can I have the question again?
Of course. What additional issues or information would you like to bring to the attention of voters?
The the executive sessions that take place within normal city council meetings, where the ones that are not open to the public, there's supposed to be a little bit more information flow about why those sessions are happening, not necessarily exactly, or giving out information that is, meant to be kept private. But I don't get a whole lot of sense exactly of what's going to go on in them before they happen, and we just receive the results. So I would just ask citizens to make sure they're heard in getting this information and asking for it.
10 seconds.
That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Packard.
I don't have any additional information or issues that I want to bring to light. Simply just a plea or request to community members to be involved, be curious, go find out information, engage the candidates, engage the city council, be part of the voting process, right? Don't be passive, be active. This is your opportunity and chance to share your voice and to communicate your feelings. And each of us has the civic responsibility to go and do that. And so I would just encourage everybody to be active participants. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Mr. Ewing?
Thank you. Just like to note and highlight some of the reasons why people love Lake Stevens. I've already touched on the public safety piece of that. The fiscal responsibility. Lake Stevens is one of 7 cities in the state of Washington that has the second highest Moody's bond rating. That means for the large projects where we've taken out bonds to fund significant projects in the city, our cost to the citizens is much lower because of our fiscal responsibility. That's on a rolling 3-year average. So it's not just a little chunk of time. That's something that we recently achieved earlier this year. So that's something that is the hard work of our city staff, our mayor and the council that have worked that to make that a reality. And just a reminder, our lake is the crown jewel of the state. It's the largest lake in Snohomish County, and we are doing a great job of being good stewards of that body of water.
Thank you. We've come to the final question. Ms. McAllister, you have the first say on this last question. And this is the question. Please tell us something about your life experience that might surprise or intrigue voters. 60 seconds.
I don't know that this would surprise anybody, but I don't really have a knack or passion for public speaking. I really just want to represent the people of Lake Stevens, kicking and screaming if I have to. So this is all new to me as far as public office, but I've always wanted to get into it because I like being a part of policymaking and reading dry documents, believe it or not.
Mr. Packard.
So I just want to share that my grandfather was one of 17 children. My father was one of 12. I'm one of 8, and I have 5 of my own. So family is really important to me. I come from a very large family. I have lots of cousins, aunts, uncles. I like to spend time with them. I like to be outdoors with them. We camp, we hike, we backpack, we off-road, we do all kinds of things, but we do it together. My goal for the city is to enable families and individuals to find a place where they feel at home. And that's one of the reasons why I run. Lake Stevens has been amazing for me and my family, and I want to make it continue to be amazing for other families and individuals like me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ewing?
Thank you. On election day, November 5th, 2024, I was involved in a violent car accident. I was struck at highway speeds and my car was thrown 70 feet off of the road. When I regained consciousness, the only thing I thought of was my wife and children. I didn't think about the election. I didn't think about my job. I didn't think about my position on the city council. The accident occurred close to my home, and miraculously, I walked home, walked into the bedroom, and to my wife's surprise, I was there. That was the best hug I've ever had in my life. It helped me refocus on what is most important to me in my life. It is my wife and my 5 children that we have together. That extension on my life, I lost my brother-in-law to a similar collision, allowed me to attend my daughter's wedding last month, which was an exceptionally special experience. So I'm grateful that my life was spared and allowed me that cherished opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Edwards.
Yeah, so something that might intrigue voters is what I do in my day job. I mentioned earlier, I teach and mentor youth here in Snohomish County. I have worked directly with over 3,000 young adults here working towards their education. I think that it's really important for youth in our community to know that they have a trusted person that they can go to be vulnerable and ask questions without feeling, stupid or feeling too embarrassed to ask. Like I said, I've worked with over 3,000 students that have typically been pushed out of a traditional high school environment or have never attended. They come to the program that I work for, and we help them basically go to college and earn a high school diploma with all of the wraparound support that they could ever need.
Thank you to all of you for sharing with that last answer. The League thanks these candidates for joining us and for running for office. We encourage our audience to explore additional information about these and all other candidates. Recordings of all League forums, those recorded for the primary and for the general elections, are available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website, on YouTube, and on podcast channels. You can find links at lwvsnoho.org. If you prefer written responses, vote 411.org, sponsored by the League, is another good source of information. Ballots and your Snohomish County voters pamphlet will be mailed starting October 17th. Election Day is Tuesday, November 4th. Please be a voter. Thank you to our League Candidate Forum team and the Candidate Forum Coalition. Special thanks to Dave Moon and the Sultan High School students at TurkPride.tv who made this production possible. And of course, thank you all for joining us. This concludes our Candidate Forum.